Arav was always someone with big dreams. He would talk endlessly about his plans, starting a business, traveling the world, becoming successful. His friends admired his ambition, but as time passed, they started noticing something odd. Arav talked more than he actually took action. He posted motivational quotes, shared his goals online, and announced every new idea with excitement. But when it came time for real action, he hesitated. Maybe tomorrow, he would tell himself, always promising to act later. Days turned into weeks, and nothing changed. His words floated loudly in the air, but his actions were too quiet to make a difference. Arav's social media was full of plans and promises. He'd post about his dreams, share his goals, and announce every idea with enthusiasm. But in reality, his life stood still. His friends, once impressed by his energy, began to doubt. He always talks, but where's the progress? They whispered among themselves. Arav noticed their fading enthusiasm. Deep down, frustration began to rise. Why am I stuck? He wondered, even as he crafted new speeches about future success. Noise surrounded him, his own noise. But without action, his words became empty echoes, lost in the wind. Seeking clarity, Arav decided to visit his uncle, a quiet farmer known for his abundant harvests. Curious, Arav asked, "Uncle, you never boast about your success, yet your farm thrives. What's your secret?" The farmer smiled and replied, "Seeds don't need announcements to grow. They need quiet care." He led Arav to a field full of green crops. No speeches, just daily work, patience, and consistency, the farmer said, showing him the hard work behind the scenes. His words planted a seed of realization in Arav's mind. Maybe success is quieter than I thought, Arav reflected, taking in the lesson of silence and perseverance. The farmer smiled warmly as he continued his story. "Let me tell you the story of a river," he began. "A river doesn't rush to reach its destination. It doesn't shout or make a lot of noise. It simply flows, carving its path over time, slowly but steadily." Arav listened closely, intrigued by the farmer's words. The river doesn't try to force its way through obstacles. Instead, it moves around rocks, over them, and under them. It is persistent, gentle, and patient. Even when it encounters a mountain, it doesn't stop. It flows around it, through it, or over it, depending on the situation. The farmer paused for a moment, his eyes twinkling, watching Arav take in the story. Over time, as the river continues its journey, it picks up strength. Its flow becomes more powerful as it flows through valleys, gathering water from other streams, expanding with each passing day. But it never rushes. Even when it's facing a long stretch with no clear end in sight, it keeps flowing, patiently, one small step after another. Arav leaned forward, captivated by the imagery of the river's path. Eventually, the farmer continued, the river reaches the sea, its destination. It doesn't announce its arrival with loud cries or sudden splashes. No, it simply merges quietly with the ocean, its journey completed. It didn't rush, it didn't boast, it just flowed, each drop contributing to its progress, until it finally became part of something much larger than itself. The farmer looked directly at Arav, a knowing smile on his face. The river shows us that true success isn't about racing to the end or making a lot of noise. It's about persistence, patience, and steady effort. Like the river, success is achieved step by step, quietly and steadily, until it reaches its true destination. Arav sat in silence, deeply moved. Maybe I need to stop trying to make waves and just keep moving forward, one step at a time, he thought, reflecting on the powerful journey of the river. Motivated by the lesson from his uncle, Arav felt a deep shift inside him. He realized that his constant talking had only been noise, and that real change would come from quiet, consistent effort. So, he decided to stop announcing his dreams to the world and start putting in the work. Arav woke up early every day, planning his tasks in silence. No more loud declarations or grand speeches. He focused on small, manageable steps, knowing that progress doesn't need to be announced to be real. He spent hours refining his business plan, studying the market, and making connections with the right people. He didn't share every detail on social media or tell his friends about his progress. Instead, he worked quietly, determined to build a strong foundation before the world ever saw his efforts. Over time, Arav's approach began to change the way he viewed success. He no longer felt the need to boast about every small achievement. He didn't need others to praise him or acknowledge his efforts. He found satisfaction in the quiet progress he was making. His friends started to notice the change. The frequent posts on social media stopped, and there was a noticeable shift in Arav's attitude. He was more focused, more driven, and less concerned with what others thought. One of his friends asked, "Arav, what's going on? We used to hear about all your plans and updates all the time. Now, you seem so calm." Arav smiled and replied, "You'll see soon enough. Sometimes, it's the quiet ones who surprise everyone." At first, his friends were confused by the change, but soon they started seeing the results. Arav wasn't just talking anymore. He was building something real. His business began to take shape, slowly but steadily, and as the months passed, the signs of his hard work became undeniable. As Arav continued his quiet work, he felt a growing sense of alignment with his goals. For the first time, his actions were in perfect harmony with his dreams. He realized that success doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. It doesn't need to be announced to the world. Success is built in silence, with steady, persistent effort. As the weeks turned into months, Arav's quiet work began to bear fruit. His project, which had once seemed like a distant dream, slowly came to life. The business he had been working on in silence began to gain attention. People who had once doubted him started to take notice. They were impressed by how much he had accomplished without making a big deal about it. Arav launched his project with no fanfare. There were no grand announcements, no celebrations. He simply presented his work, letting the results speak for themselves. At first, people were surprised. They had expected another round of loud declarations and big promises. But instead, they were faced with something real. His business was up and running, and it was thriving. His friends, who had once questioned his constant talk without action, were now inspired. They couldn't believe how far Arav had come without making any noise. "We never saw it coming," one of his friends admitted. "You've actually done it. You built something real." Arav smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride. He had proven to himself, and to the world, that success doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. It doesn't need to be announced with fanfare. Success speaks for itself through actions, through results. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, not because of the praise he received, but because his work had finally spoken louder than his words ever could. The satisfaction he felt wasn't in the applause of others, but in the tangible success he had created. Let results make the noise, he thought with a smile, knowing that the work he had put in would continue to speak for itself. Arav had learned a valuable lesson from his journey. He now understood that success doesn't come from shouting about your dreams. It comes from quietly working on them, step by step, every day. He realized that the most powerful kind of success is built in silence. It's not the loud declarations that bring about change, but the steady, consistent effort that creates real results. Success, he now knew, is a reflection of the quiet work you put in when no one is watching.
His perspective on life had shifted. He no longer felt the need to announce every achievement. He understood that real progress is often invisible to the world until it becomes undeniable. And even then, it doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. True success speaks for itself. Arav also realized that silence doesn't mean inactivity. It doesn't mean doing nothing. Silence, in this case, was about focus. It was about taking time to build something solid and meaningful without seeking instant recognition. It was about letting results unfold naturally, without the need for external validation. People admired Arav not because of the noise he made, but because of the quiet strength he had shown. His friends, once skeptical, now saw him as a true example of what it means to work steadily toward your goals without expecting applause or attention. Success is a quiet victory, Arav thought. It's about the work that nobody sees, the efforts that go unnoticed, and the quiet persistence that leads to something extraordinary. He knew now that the greatest strength lies in the ability to keep moving forward, even when the world around you is silent, and to let your results speak louder than anything you could ever say. As Arav's story comes to an end, it's time for you to reflect. Ask yourself, are you spending more time talking about your dreams, or are you quietly working towards them day by day? Remember, success doesn't need a stage. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It grows slowly, steadily, and quietly. The question is, are you ready to stop talking and start building your own quiet success?